Hi, we're back here at the Revealing the True You Summit. Your host, Jasmine Whitaker. I have the lovely Lavinia Brown here. And we like to go back to the roots. Lavinia Brown is going to walk us through exactly what that means and how connecting your childhood trauma to your new self is going to change your life.
It's great to be here. Thank you, first of all. Secondly, yes, I focus on helping women, specifically mothers, process old stuck feelings that they couldn't process at the time because they were too little. They didn't have the psychological awareness or capacity to do so at the time, and they were probably terrified, so it wouldn't have been possible even if they did. So one thing I want to mention is that often people are like, oh, trauma. No, I didn't have a traumatic back. No, it was fine. I mean, it was okay. We had food on the table. We went on holidays. I went to an okay school. And I'm like, great. I'm glad that you had that material safety. Not everyone does, obviously, but good that you did. And we're not talking about big T trauma. Big T trauma is different to developmental or attachment trauma, which is little t. And that's significant because we can look back at our childhood and goes, oh, I wasn't beaten up, or I wasn't whatever trauma sexually abused, or whatever that might look like for you. And actually, the definition of attachment trauma or developmental trauma is not feeling seen, not feeling understood, not feeling like you could be yourself, living in an environment that was perhaps emotionally chaotic or emotionally unpredictable. Maybe you were moving house a lot. Maybe your mother was depressed or would veer into depression and you never really knew why or when it would happen. Maybe your dad would shout and break things, not necessarily at you, but perhaps at you. And so you didn't know when he would be angry. Maybe you moved house a lot. You had to change schools a lot. All of these things are trauma, so little t trauma. So it's about getting people not to like label themselves, oh my God, that means I'm traumatized. It's like, no, we're not saying it because we're dooming you to a life of, drugs or something, or dependency on therapy. Not at all. It's people pleasing, binging on food, alcohol, drugs, sex, thinking you have to be busy all the time to prove your worth, that you're not worthy just by being you. So all of these things we can trace back to childhood and the ways in which we tried to be the person that we thought our parents or our primary caregivers needed us to be so that we could get that attention that we were desperate for. So it's not about saying you're traumatized, oh my God. It's saying, no, you know what? Your past is affecting your present. If we go back there, you can heal that, the root causes, and you can be, like you're doing on this summit, the true you.
I want to talk to you about what it looks like when you finally say, I know something needs to change, but I don't know what that is. And how do they parallel to that childhood experience?
So what we want to be paying attention to is what I always say to people is, where are you reacting disproportionately? So those examples are like coping mechanisms that might be serving you, but they're also limiting you, right? We kind of know when we're a people pleaser, and sometimes we're like, why did I say yes? I really don't want to go to that party. I don't even really like that person. Right? And so we notice the things that don't feel right, don't feel in alignment, and the situations where we overreact. And people often say to me, but how do I know if I'm acting disproportionately? You know, there's a difference between being angry and there's a difference between losing your shit, right? Like really going for it. There's a difference between feeling sad and beating yourself up and not being able to get out of that spiral of, oh my God, I'm toxic, I'm broken, I shouldn't be here. There's a difference between normal reactions and overreactions. And these are the pointers to the wounds we need to heal. Kind of touched on that before in terms of the things that you're doing that might be getting you far in life, being self-sufficient, for example, not showing weak or being able not to show weakness, being resilient, being a people pleaser, being a highly sensitive person.
Yeah.
All of these things are things that you could say, oh, well, it served me well. I've got a long way because of these traits. Great. And are they still serving you? And at what cost did you develop them? Are you self-sufficient because there was no one there for you in childhood, so you had to be? Are you a people pleaser because you weren't getting the unconditional love that you needed just by being you? Are you resilient because there was no one to help you regulate your feelings? So that's how we know where to go back.
That's normally the indicator saying, okay, I regret my decision, which let me know that I have a problem, which further lets me know that I need to change, right? And so for some people, they believe that all that resiliency and all of that people pleasing and all of the overachieving, all of those things may sound like it's something that they need to heal from, but they're afraid that if they drop that they won't continue to get the results that they've gotten. They are going to now lose everything that they've had. So now like this new fear arises. So how does a person tackle that fear? And is that fear something that is common?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. It is common. People are like, but this is especially around overachieving, performing. They're like, but if I stop, then I'm like, yeah, then what? Then what?
Right.
Well, then I'll just be like lazy. I'm like, okay, then what? Well, then I won't achieve anything. Then what? Then, and often this is my kids won't respect me, or my kids won't think I'm a good role model, or I won't have a place at the table. I'm like, okay, so your performing is linked to your sense of worth. And in terms of will I lose that, the way I see it is all our behavior has drivers, has, hidden drivers. We don't want those drivers to be wounds. We want them to be values. So we can question ourselves. This comes up with over-exercise. People that are like, I must do this every day. Okay, great. Is it because you're scared of becoming a certain shape or size that you don't want to be, or that was judged when you were a child by other people around you? Or is it because you want to feel amazing and you know that it makes you feel amazing, right? Another example, being generous. I had a client once that was literally, she thought she was being a good person. She was basically allowing her sister to live off her. Her sister was very dependent on her. And I said, that's beautiful that you're doing all of this for her. She was like, I've got the means, she doesn't, I want to share. And I was like, that's beautiful, great. And are you only doing it because you want to share, or is there also a wound there? And there was a wound there. She wasn't doing it because she wanted to be generous. That was part of it. But there was also the wound of, well, if I don't, she'll reject me. Or it was my mother will think I'm a bad sister. So we want to be really careful about what is driving me, a wound or a value. So in the case of like being an overachiever, if you're an overachiever, to be honest, you're going to be an overachiever, right? You're going to be someone that has energy, drive, you get shit done. But that doesn't need to be manic.
No.
We don't need a manic energy surrounding that. We can still be that kind of person without that wound. The wound makes us manic. But if I don't, then it'll be awful, right? We want to be able to doing it because it feels good and it's going to be amazing, not because we're scared of the consequences of what might happen if we don't. That's the thing to ask yourself.
I think that, it's a lot of the bodily awareness too, and like the sensory awareness within yourself to know, hey, I feel really tense when I have this feeling, or like when I do this activity, or, when I'm around this individual, my stomach is in knots, so things like this, like that awareness to your body is really, it's a great signal for all of these little nuances that you need to correct in order to.
Yeah, so I work a lot with the body. When people ask me what's the difference between therapy and what I do, I work somatically. Yes, we talk, but I'm not interested in analyzing, comparing, contrasting your childhood to someone else's, or what you've thought, or an insight that you've had. You can talk until the cows come home, literally, and keep saying, see you next week, see you next week, see you next week. I'm not interested. I'm going to give you the tools to feel the wound, not talk about the wound, feel the wound, because that's what releases these old stuck feelings. And then you get rid of it forever. You don't need to see me next week because you're done, right? So I want to empower people to do this work. It's not about them being dependent on me. That's awful. So going back to the body, absolutely. My little trick is, does it feel nourishing? Does your heart open? Does your chest open when you think about this? Do you feel like excited? Or does your chest close? Do you think, oh, is it draining? Is it nourishing or is it draining? That's how I get my clients to think about exactly what you said in body terms.
I love that. Now, see, I have a daughter, and my daughter, being a parent, my daughter is unable to see the traumas that I'm trying to protect her from, because me knowing and understanding the things that she can be exposed to, which can create behavior because she's impressionable. To protect her from those things can cause trauma, like even the environment that she's in and the people that she's around. So that can look a lot like I'm becoming obsessive about what she is, exposed to, and about her environment, and the people that she socializes with. But my daughter is able to see transparently all the things that I'm either working on, or the things that I may have trauma connected to. So she's somewhat of a mirror for me. I can get out in front of her trauma, almost like preventive maintenance, right? So is there anything that parents need to look out for if they're deciding to create and maintain this new identity? Is there anything that they need to look out for that can signal that their child is receiving trauma from what they're doing?
I feel it's our duty to heal our wounds in a way that we are not unconsciously projecting them onto our kids. So what you said about being protective, of course we want to be protective, and we have that experience of, this could go this way, this could go that way, that they don't have because they've never been in that situation before. So of course we want to be sharing our experiences with them, and we want to make sure, again, is that care wound driven or value driven? If you haven't done the work around your trauma and therefore it's still alive in you, those feelings are still alive, you're going to be driven by the fear of what might happen to your child if the thing that happened to you happens. So in other words, you're trying to protect them from your pain because you haven't solved your pain yet. You haven't processed it yet. We want to make sure that we process our pain first, because actually we can't protect our kids. We can't. If you try and lay down, but maybe they don't go out at night, or maybe they don't have a phone, or they don't have access to certain sites, or maybe we move house so that we live in a safer neighborhood. We can't. So what we have to empower them with is the confidence to manage whatever situation they get themselves into, because in the end, that's what you did. Yes, you may have been led down certain paths that were horrific, where you did receive additional trauma. Parenting, someone said to me, is the quickest route to enlightenment. I'm like, yeah. It is so hard. It is so hard. And that's why I work with mums, because often we live our lives totally unaware of the trauma that we've undergone, the wounds that we're carrying, blissfully unaware that we're projecting them onto everyone. And it's when we become a mom and we're suddenly in charge of this person that our limitations and the limitations that were caused by our trauma suddenly come into view. And it's like, oh my God, here I am unconsciously parenting like my parents, when that was the last thing I ever wanted to do. And yet I'm doing it. So that's the initiation into your trauma. I mean, that was for me anyway. I was blissfully unaware before I became a mom. So actually, I was blissfully unaware until I got my second daughter. I've got three. My first daughter is very compliant. She's very sweet. Probably a people pleaser. My second daughter, She wasn't having any of it. She's like demanding that I be whole, demanding that I heal my wounds by showing me them, by triggering me. So, that's the whole mother thing. Weirdly, it's not actually what happened to you, however horrendous. It's not that. It's the impact that had on you and the fact that you had no one to support you through it. We can try and protect our kids as much as possible. And it's like, we can try our best, but in the end, they'll either do it in front of us or they'll sneak behind our back and do it.
We can be in families or we can have other friends when we start talking to them about our enlightened self, because our timer is very different from theirs. And so when we start noticing the things that we need to change, they may not notice those things about themselves, so they can't relate. So how important is it to find a community? And if you have one, could you please share them?
I think community sounds quite big. Like if you said to me, I haven't got a community. I haven't. I don't have many friends. I've got a few really good friends. I don't think we necessarily need community. We need a few people that get what we're going through. Because trauma is isolating. Trauma isolates you. And when we can know that there are other people out there that probably haven't had exactly the same experience, no one has, right? We're all unique, but that they've shared that same pain. And perhaps even more importantly, that they have the same desire to be better. Like all these beautiful women on your summit, they want to reveal the true you. They're just like, but how? Where do I start? That's important, that you have the same goals. Like for my community, my clients, it's to be a better mother, to stop that cycle, and to the best of their ability, not pass on the trauma that they were given. Suffering, hopefully not traumatized, but suffering is part of life. It's how we grow as people. And going back to what you said about your daughter, she knows that you've been through difficult experiences and she can see you now. What a role model. I come from this. I'm here now. I'm still healing. I'm not perfect, but I'm human. I accept my humanness, my limitations. I'm still trying harder. And I've got the tools to help you get through whatever you need to get through. So in terms of community, yes, I'm launching a community for my clients. Not just for clients, for everyone. I'm really excited about it. And that's launching in January. So that's going to be a course, Making Peace with Your Past, which is literally jam-packed. It's got every single tool that's in my toolkit. And it's also, talking about somatic work, it's experiential. It's not just do a course, journal out. It's got lots of experiential. We do visualizations, we do somatic work, we do memory work. I teach you how to do this somatic work that is so crucial to your healing. So anyway, there's the course and obviously a Facebook group, members only, private. I'm going to be in there reading every post. But most importantly, it's got 2 live telephone calls, and they're telephone calls because, as you know, you said this to me, not everyone wants to show their face. This is very sensitive work. So it's a, anonymous telephone call, and I'm there to answer any questions to support you on your healing journey. And that community is for life. It's for life. So once you join, that's it. You're in there. You have those resources for the rest of your life, and I'm here for you. So I'm excited about that.
Thank you so much, Lavinia. I appreciate you for giving us your time today.
I think we're both doing our bit to try and heal people one person at a time, and that's amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lavinia Brown.